Alright, well, let's jump straight in.
What's a Simtom? So here we go, folks. Opening up on this one. Now, CoRe, a name also familiar. You see him around. He stopped doing the observing for us. He was very confident he was going to make it to Heidelberg for a different method. He didn't want to try to become the best observer in the world. So shout out to Vodka for claiming that title by default, though he worked hard to earn it. On the other side, though, Simtom is a name that has been around since release. This guy has existed since the beckoning days of early AOE4. Hasn't really had an opportunity to shine, though. I think the closest he got to being able to shine, really, if I think about it, is probably in the Outback Octagon, where he had some interesting performances.
Yeah, he's always been around. He's always had some good performances, but he never really had a breakthrough. Now, this weekend could actually be his breakthrough. If he can take down comparable players to him. He doesn't have to face the beasties, the marine lords, the Muslims. He has to face players that are possibly comparable for him. We talked about this one. These guys are all capable of beating each other. If he can play consistent and he can play his usual playstyle today, he could easily be one of the candidates to qualify tomorrow. So don't sleep on this guy yet. He could definitely be one of the more under-the-radar players to look at.
That's the beautiful thing about last chance qualifiers. Anyone could make it. A dark horse could come out of nowhere for the final slot available, and that's why we're here, Lidakor, because we like the taste of tears, and there's going to be plenty of them, because only 2 people will leave this weekend happy. Every other weekend before this, they could shrug it off. They could say next time, maybe I'll do it next time. There's always another weekly, another monthly, but this is where the buck stops. Succeed here or fail entirely.
And that puts extra pressure on the shoulders of these players. Up until now, as you said, it was always like, okay, I have another option. I have another chance. But no more chances are left. So the pressure under which the players are playing today and even tomorrow are much larger than what it ever used to be during Road to Red Bull Wololo Legacy.
I think there's some comparative points, probably when you're on the edge of qualifying via weekly points or when you're in the monthly finals, you get that same feeling. I think the key thing for here for players is to take each individual series, each individual game, focus on it. One of the beautiful things in best of threes is you can use the mindset of what is this game, focus only on this game. Until you're in BO5, BO7 territory, you don't have to worry about the drafting strategy as much. You can just focus on each individual game, which I think is a very big advantage at this stage.
And that's a good point. You have to take it one at a time, and for now, he's going to be up against CoRe. CoRe, who has been grinding very hard. As you said, for a long time, he was the observer for us at EGCTV, but he kind of decided to focus a little bit more on the playing aspect of things. He received coaching from multiple players. I think one of them is Puppy Paw, but I can't recall the other guy that CoRe received coaching from. Still,
I mean, the OG guy he received coaching from, I'm doing the thing with my fingers, was Beastie. I don't know if that was coaching as much as abuse, but he definitely got a lot of coaching there. But yeah, he's definitely had a decent amount of coaching. CoRe is very much interested in making it as a player. You can tell he's very dedicated. I know it'd be a heartbreaker for him to go out here, but at the same time, there's just so many people that could make it.
For sure it is, but oftentimes we say that the best way of learning is by losing. So, as much as you said, indeed, he has had multiple matchups against a Beastie, lost in most of those. Those are still good learning experiences, and that's something that he's going to be able to carry in here.
So what you're saying is CoRe is the biggest learner in AOE4?
That's a very sophisticated way of explaining that he lost 100 games to Beastie.
I think the term you're looking for is an interesting way. Well, let's get interested in the TC. Simtom's on the move, going for the back deer. Also secure his homewood line, which is good, but CoRe is not going to let him have it for free. I mean, he doesn't even have a good placement, actually, because the way the deers died. And, oh, cool. Wait, no. Okay, he gets it, he gets it.
Lovely bait out there. He realized that CoRe was going to try to block the best spot for his TC, or at least, given the circumstances, his best spot. So he moved south, baiting CoRe into switching angle as well. CoRe took the bait, and Simtom just walks back to the original spot. That's the place where CoRe initially intended to place his TC at, and CoRe is not going to be able to stop it.
Meanwhile, CoRe will move out for his own deal with his TC. Didn't opt for the ball in the center. Clearly, I want a beer. Which I understand in this matchup, right? You're against the French. There's a risk you're going to have to deal with Knights. It's too much of a gamble. One thing I am curious to, though, is whether CoRe is going to stop at 2 TCs, considering he doesn't just secure the deer with that extension. He also has access to stone as well.
Interesting idea. Now, the TC is placed a little far away from the stone to be convenient, but we have to keep in mind that the French, their passive bonus will mean that they will have better villager numbers than the Rus do by default. So it's not a completely crazy idea to contemplate going 3 TCs here with the Rus, especially because it's not awkward for French to go 3 TCs themselves. So if CoRe feels like Simtom would go for a 3rd TC, he could also contemplate his own 3rd. He's going to have vision on the stone mine, seeing that Simtom stays on 2. So CoRe can decide whether he wants a 3rd TC for himself to build up a villager lead, or whether he just wants to accelerate his castle age and make up for the villager deficit to the relics.
And on the openers at the beginning of Feudal, at least what we will see is Knights on both sides. So CoRe is opting to get into the harassment game. It's an interesting one with the Rus as well, because arguably you don't want to build too many Knights. You don't want to become too reliant on it, right? I think the Rus have to play their Knight comp the way that I prefer to see French players play their Knight comp, which is it is a harassing unit. It's not meant to be a direct army unit.
Indeed. Same thing for the Rus over here with the Knights. The biggest problem for them, obviously, is that while any damage that you do to the French Knights will be recuperated using Chivalry, that's not the case for CoRe's Knights. So right now the two players are doing essentially the same thing, but the French are just better at it altogether. When it comes to the Knight Wars and when it comes to the TC booming, both of those aspects favor the French over the Rus.
Yeah, it's even more than the healing for the Knights, right? We have to remember for the French Knights in the Rus clash, for one, you get your melee upgrade for free the moment you drop Blacksmith. Nice little convenient thing. The bigger detail is the charge damage. After you charge, you get bonus damage to the French Knights. So, CoRe, there is a way you can actually win Knight clashes. You have to out-micro. It's just sheer out-micro. So, what I want you to keep an eye out for is when CoRe goes in for clashes on cavalry, he'll pull back intentionally until Simtom's Knights put their Lancers away.
Indeed, for the time being, we don't have any Knight clashes out there. Instead, CoRe is just going in with the Knight, manages to pick off a villager, nice little start for him, as we have both players pivoting into Spearmen.
I'm surprised, actually, that Simtom blinks so quickly, but he just doesn't like the lay of the land. And in fairness, you can see the issue he now has. He slowed down Knight production, so he's behind, and he's walling. So he's already told CoRe, you can have the map. Now, Simtom is going to try to send a Knight in here or there to be annoying, but he's playing them fairly blind at the moment, and there is a concern that you are just going to get deathballed if this turns into a Knight-on-Knight clash with spears on the side.
Yeah, it's the usual problem of French mirrors, actually, where whoever blinks first to start adding Spearmen is going to fall behind so much, because you see, right now, as long as those walls are incomplete, CoRe can just run circles around your base and always be able to pick off villagers. You have the Spearmen to destroy those Knights with, but you will never be given a fight, and those walls, they just take too much time to complete. Look at how exposed those villagers will be as they try to vault to the south. Those walls, they just feel too far away. There's no way he walls in time.
Definitely not in time before the Knights arrive. You can see that CoRe's already sniffed it out. It's like, okay, why would he be walling north if he's not walling south as well? So he's going to move out. Should be perfect time, and he should have superior scout vision. He lost one of the scouts, but still has 2 more. And also, CoRe now with the pull towards the boar, looks like he's going to secure additional food income. That's going to inflate his Knight count further. Someone I want you to consider here, Lidakor, is right now they're doing the same comp. What happens when you add archers in? The Rus get a bigger advantage because they have surplus wood compared to the French.
Especially when the French player stops adding Knights altogether. You see, Simtom is playing a very defensive game over here. He may not even expect a very aggressive game here from CoRe. I don't think he even scouted that forward base. So from this point on, CoRe could just play Knights and Archers and completely catch Simtom off guard. Indeed, Simtom has absolutely no clue on this expansion, and by the time he realizes what's going on, CoRe could easily have like 20 Archers on the field, but instead, CoRe wants to go greedy. Look at the resources, KP. This is not a forward base, at least not for military purposes, just for the board. Instead, it's a 3rd DC.
It is, right in the back corner. where he's hoping it will never be scouted, which is actually a good gamble. Think about this logically, like the way that Simtom's now expected to play the game. He's condensed himself, he's hiding behind his walls, but he's also playing wide with the walls, so he lacks vision. Simtom only has 1 scout. CoRe knows he's down to 1 scout because he killed 1. It's unlikely that Simtom is going to come in and sniff this out straight away. But as soon as I say that, as is typical with casters, God, clearly I must be on Simtom's side here. He's rapping towards the location.
He may not find it.
Nope. Yeah, away you go and get out of here. Simtom isn't even suspicious as to why CoRe is so over-calibrated in his aggression in this area.
And this is where the other factor comes into play.
Oops.
You can conceal your extra town centers with the roost because you don't have to mine stone for that. You just buy the stone. So even if Simtom sees your stone mine, he can't conclude how many town centers you have from it.
Exactly. And well, in the center, there's going to be a raid towards the ball spot. Spears are on the way, though, so Simtom unlikely to hang around, and this is the annoyance. Any other Civ, that outpost is gone. Not with the roost. Oh no, those wooden fortresses are chunky. Quite a while to burn down.
Yeah, chunky they are, and look at how far the gate is. A lot of chip damage here for the Knights. They pick off a couple of spearmen as they retreat. Find the clash comes in, but suboptimal at best for Simtom. He can't really take this fight.
Yeah, I think if he has the other spears there, it's a decent fight, but like this, no, not at all. And now you can see CoRe feels the momentum on one side, looks to burn through. It's a rough day when your opponent doubles up your Knight count and yet has more military pop cap overall, with 18 to 22 on the offensive. And behind that, of course, having the 3rd TC means that he does have the eco lead as well, but Simtom is at least going to try to punish that, the remaining Knights he has in the field.
Yeah, he doesn't really have the spearman number to hold this anymore, and the villagers and the berries, they're more than exposed.
Yeah, he has to retreat away, and Simtom, the worst possible timing. He was in the middle of the farm transition. You know it's bad when you're relying on the berries, and now you can't even get them for free. Then there's a concern around wood. He's more or less already munched through the initial wood line. The secondary one is not going to be accessible for him. Meanwhile, on the other side, Simtom didn't find that 3rd TC. He's raiding the main base, so he still doesn't realize that economically, he's going to be behind.
It's getting so bad for Simtom over here. As you said, he's getting closer and closer to the point where he needs to go for a farm transition, and this is something that CoRe knows fully well. By building those walls, Simtom is telling his opponent, you can have all the map control that you need. And that means that Simtom, he's going to run out of resources really fast over here. He was making pricey Knights. In fact, he continues to add Knights now, so he's depleting those resources really fast. And very soon, he's gonna need new sources of food. I just don't know where he's going to get that from. He's not gonna be able to secure much map control, and a farm transition kind of feels like a suicide right now.
Maybe he... Oh, wait. I was going to say maybe he can use cheat codes, but we season, like, the new season isn't out yet, so they haven't been out yet. Yeah, he's got nothing. Like, the Deer's going to get shut down, and you're going to be blocked out of this indefinitely, because, like, CoRe knows full well what you need. And while CoRe is turning the screws, he's also turning up from 2 to 3 in terms of tech, because he's on his way towards Castle Age, at which point, Simtom will not be able to take any fights.
Oh, trying to push this tower, but once again, this is just such a good and well-fortified position. In fact, we're even going to have some walls out there to limit any chance from Simtom for a counterattack. And as you said, Tech Hub comes in now for CoRe. He's playing from a very comfortable position. Dead even are the villager counts, which is definitely something that the Roosts are happy with at this point of the game. And he's going to have an even bigger eco advantage once he starts picking up those relics. This could be a nice raid here from Simtom, though. First time he could do significant damage to CoRe's eco.
It's tough, though. You know, more spears have been being produced. You're going in a little bit blind. Luckily for you, though, you choose the right time. CoRe was shifting out north side greedily. We punished for that. Now, CoRe, you can see he's reluctant to produce any more units yet. He wants to complete the tech up. The few spears he's got to go and try to hold in the area, but they are a little bit outnumbered. However, Simtom is not willing to clash at all. He's just going to keep wrapping around. He spots the tech up. Can't do anything about it. CoRe, now, in the next minute or two, is going to get a huge power spike. Simtom has to get a lot of damage done now.
Yeah, but how? So many town centers covering most of those villagers, and it's only a handful of Knights here, really, for Simtom. 6 or so raiding. He's trying to get to Castle Age himself with the guild hall, but when he reaches Castle Age, his army might be non-existent, because all he has are just a handful of Knights over here that likely will fall.
Hello, honey. This is the... No, Simtom. No, this is the way to go. Oh, no. And look at the difference there, Lidakor. How many times do I have to tell people? That's me slapping Simtom around the face, saying, do it. Build a scout. That's the difference there. CoRe is patrolling them with those knights with a scout. Simtom is playing blind in this entire area. Check his vision. He doesn't know where is safe or where is not. He's paranoid that he can't go south from there because it's walled off or something. And that's why he retreated back the other way.
Yeah, it hurts so much for him. He needs to keep those knights alive. He needs Castle Age. Problem is that even if he gets to Castle Age, which he just now did, he's not gonna have the royal bloodlines to offset his numerical disadvantage. We'll try to go very heavy on the spearman department, but Roos will be happy with that too.
Mass spears in the center on both sides. Neither bothering to upgrade theirs yet, so actually not a bad trade for Simtom. Unless, of course, that wooden fortress has a certain upgrade. Because if that's got the better arrows, then this is going to be an easy cleanup for CoRe. Meanwhile, Wololo, not as clutch. Too big brain from CoRe there. Doesn't work out to his advantage in the end. But in the meantime, villagers aren't going to be safe along the center, but they've kind of done their business, right? Like, Eco lead will be in favor of Simtom after this if he loses the 8 villagers, but they already gathered all the ball.
And keep in mind that those are actually pricey units that Simtom will lose. In fact, Knights retreated away, so most of the villagers are getting out, courtesy of Textiles being there for CoRe as well. And being honest, he lost like 1 or 2 villagers at best, and like that is more than happy for CoRe.
And in the meantime, he's picking up relics, right? So that offsets that loss. You're going to get eco elsewhere. Then there's also the fact that you've got the increased, like, you know, eco income off of wood alone that's been bolstering you further. And also the fact that CoRe already has something in his sights. Look at his resource gain. He could be an imp in the next half a minute. Well, not in there, but he could be teching towards it in the next half a minute.
It feels risky, yet it feels so smart from him. Because think about it this way. What was the damage potential for Simtom in the last couple of minutes? He had a couple of knights raiding in. In fact, you could tell that Simtom was paranoid about raiding in here. He's going to take a fight over here. Most of his army is going to get traded off, but this is fine for CoRe because he wants to go to Imp, and that is going to be a massive power spike for him, and Simtom might not even have the slightest clue that CoRe is going into Imperial.
CoRe could end this game before Imperial. He could gradually get there, but look at what he's building. He's prepping Boys Fortitude. He's going mass horse archers and knights. He does not care that he's up against spears and arbaletier. He realizes that he has the raw numerical advantage, even more so with that chunky extra 20 HP on each cavalry unit, to just blitz his way through these fights. Think about this. Look at the military count and realize that half of Simtom's comp right now is cheap spears that die fast. Those are great in late game for unlimited push. We're not there yet.
Yeah, not at all. Still, if CoRe wants to go for a full Castle Age push, he needs to find use to the bunch of food that he has stacked up. Also quite a lot of wood being floated in the bank over here, but it looks like he is actually being bottlenecked by production. He has had like 12 horse archers queued up. Only a few of them are out there on the battlefield. If he can fix his production issues, as you said, he could easily overrun his opponent over here. He could be at 200 population in the next 1.5 or 2 minutes.
Yeah. Right now they are neck and neck though. Kind of surprising the way CoRe slowed things down. Showing maybe a little bit too much respect. Maybe he didn't expect the arbaletier mass. And by the way, it is a mass. Look at what Simtom's doing. He's queuing just as many arbaletiers as there are horse archers being queued. And this could be a respectable way for Simtom to quickly try and close the map. So CoRe has to be aware of this because in vast quantities, the spear arbor can work. The key detail is CoRe needs to pounce before both of them reach max pop.
Indeed. And right now, look at that. Simtom is also banking up quite a lot of resources. But what is bigger than that is that he's piling up stone. He's soon going to be able to afford a defensive keep, which could slow down CoRe. And also, it could set him up for the discount on the production of those units. And that's where it really gets interesting.
Exactly. You saw the archer range layout. He knows what he wants. He wants to cheapen the arbaletier cost, give him ball potential. In the meantime, the choke point, a good fight actually for Simtom to be taken. Stands his ground. With all the spears and the arbaletier, he'll be able to clean up a lot of the knights here. And yeah, the horse archers will probably remain, but if you think about the eco trade here, this is a good fight for Simtom.
This is a really good fight indeed. He gets rid of most of the knights out there, and keep in mind, those guys had Boyar's Fortitude. You couldn't really ask for a better fight there for Simtom, given the circumstances. And as he retreats, he also chips away with a couple of those knights. Sure enough, he lost his spearman. Ooh! Look at that. Nice one.
A few knights in, but that's going to force CoRe to pull all the way back. Saved a few additional arbaletier and will look to re-engage here. Notice there's not many knights anymore. There's only 7 in total. And they're not even all here. There's enough arbaletier they can stand their ground. In fact, if Simtom hits the Pavis, CoRe loses this fight, definitively. But as is so typical with many of these players, they forget about the good old Pavis.
Yeah, and there might be an overchop out there. You gotta be careful.
That's an overchop. That's definitely a gap. CoRe didn't notice though. Keep is now going up, so that's gonna be the discounts coming out and the mass arbitrary as this continues through. CoRe, this is the issue you now have. If you don't have knights as a front line, your horse archers actually lose against these crossbows.
And also, when they're supported by spearmen, and they can get some beautiful hits in there as well. Some knights with the charges, and you see, you have to constantly retreat with those horse archers, and it gets worse and worse, especially when you turn around to fight like that.
Please, Pavis, please, Pavis. Yes, the Pavis! Dominance! Je de la poix! Fight me, he says! Because that's how strong they are. You saw the extra armor. I'm so excited by this ability, Lidakor. Everyone always forgets it, but you don't know one of the best situations to use Pavis? Camel archers or horse archers. Both of those units have less range than you, so you can stand your ground and laugh in their face.
And laugh in the face he does, especially now that he has a Mango on the field as well. CoRe is in full retreat, and this army, it has high mobility, also relatively tanky units, but horse archers, they usually are just hit-and-run tactic units. You want to dive in, get some damage done, dive out. You can't take direct fights, and right now Simtom is forcing you to take those direct fights, while also still collecting stone, possibly setting himself up for what could be a super aggressive keep drop.
You can set up a proxy base. I think that's the best way to do this, because here's another issue with CoRe. CoRe just got one-dimensional, okay? He ain't playing chess anymore. He's playing 1D chess. I don't even know if that even exists, but whatever it is, it's simpleton, because he's massing just horse archers. This Mangonel just completely crippled him. He needs to go back to knights, but as we know, knights take a long time to prep. Also, I'm not even sure if he has military academy, because the production rates haven't been that impressive. Meanwhile, look on the other side. Simtom is now prepping military academy as well as cheaper arbitrarie. This is going to be an unlimited pew-pew army coming from the French.
And keep in mind that behind this one, the landmark he aged with was the Guildhall. Guildhall leaves you exposed at the beginning of Castle Age, but the longer the game goes, the better it is. He may have pulled off the food already because he's sitting at 3,000. And that could also be a difference maker in the next few minutes. Mangonel, though, getting picked off by the Knights here. It's a freebie for CoRe. Something that he really has to be happy with.
Yeah, a little bit sleepy go bye-bye from Simtom, but that was only the first wave, okay? He's like a zombie apocalypse. You know, if you've ever played Nazi zombies and CoRe, you know how this goes, Lidakor. They don't all come at once. You have to build up to it. And we're getting there. Simtom, not only that, he's getting to someone else. Did someone say trading?
Ooh, juicy. It's actually very risky as well. You're up against horse archers and you don't have that trade walled off. It's probably just the surprise factor. Why on the earth would CoRe think about you trading? Sure thing, you have the southern big gold mine walled off, but there is a gold mines to the north that Simtom could access. There's no way on this planet that CoRe ever expects Simtom to trade at this point of the game.
Think about it a different way, Lidakor. There's no way you'd ever expect someone to trade when you see them tech up, right? You give it like 2 or 3 more minutes in your mind before that even becomes a possibility. It's going to catch him off guard. The funny part is his own walls are going to stop him from checking that area. This fight is just condensed in the center. And this is a bad way for CoRe to get forced to fight. In a choke point. You've got cavalry. You're not even utilizing it like this. Mangonel, by the way, can crush this horse archer army if it gets off its coffee's break. In the meantime, Pavises are going to once again be used. Simtom's going to stand his ground. Mango shots come out. Skrill's looking to snipe him out, but that is a brutal trade in favor of Simtom. Loses about half the troops, and remember, he's paying half the price on these bad boys.
And horse archers, they did dive too deep. They got swarmed by spearmen, many good hits as well. Look at that. Springold's getting taken down as well.
I mean, it's the forward infrastructure as well. Everything's going to be exposed here. Also, keep in mind behind this, there's more men-at-arms spearmen on the way. Horsemen also being queued up. Love this idea because you can just raid in and take out the buildings. CoRe is slipping, and he's at risk of falling and breaking his neck here. Needs a recovery, and it looks like he's going to opt into the Streltsy to give him that.
Yeah, on the other hand, though, we've seen this before. Streltsy, they are cost efficient, but the Arbaletry, for the price they actually have, they are actually pretty decent against gunpowder units even, and that's a decent trade for Simtom, even though not spectacular. I don't feel like Streltsy by themselves will be sufficient here, especially if you could get cut off from the gold.
Oh boy, speaking of gold, that's a lot of gold workers right now. And I believe someone forgot to make a gate.
Run!
Run, you fools! Okay, there's a gate down
he's
here.
fine.
But the keep is gone, and that's a heavy investment. I don't think you got much, like, got what, maybe 400 off that vein?
Yeah, minimal
Hey, it's
gold.
pretty fresh. Yeah, so he wouldn't have got much out of that. Love this by Simtom. Secures gold. Also now gives him another proxy location. Set up stables around there, and you can begin an unlimited horseman push into the back of your opponent's base.
And look at where the alternative gold mines are at, KP. 2 gold mines still remaining in neutral battleground are walled off to the north by Simtom. So CoRe, he still has a small gold mine inside his base. He's sitting on 3 relics, but that's all the gold that he has to work with. And Streltsy, especially if you are losing them in large quantities against the Arbaletrier, they are difficult to replenish. This is a fight that Simtom is going to be more than happy with.
Now, in fairness, Streltsy a little bit cheaper than other hand cannoneer units, right? They're only 90 food and 90 gold. And right now, some people might... Why do I have to pay gold for this unit? Look, they have a gun, you give them whatever they want.
I mean, guns at the time were expensive, so they do cost gold for sure.
I mean, you know, clearly you're buying guns the wrong way. Like, I've played enough games to know if you buy the gun off the guy, you just then use it on him and take your money back. All right, that's my RPG experience.
Oh, you've been playing too much Battle Royales.
Battle Royale? Well, I ain't paying for my guns in Battle Royales. No.
You're just playing the wrong Battle Royales then.
Clearly.
Oh no, CoRe. I think he's just now realizing.
Are there walls here? Oops.
Oh no, he's running
Where
into the Springald Tower.
He still can't get around. It's all walled off. Look at the north side.
Yeah,
Those 2 gold veins are inaccessible.
He's right-clicking outside, and the villagers are finding the only path that there is. That's the thing. He just right-clicked outside. He had no idea that there are walls up there on the north. He's just as surprised as we are about it.
And the horsemen as well. Oh, cool. You know, this is karma. I've seen this guy in many games as the Roos with 100+ horsemen. Might end up going that way in favor of Simtom. He's prepping royal bloodlines. He's upgrading his horsemen to elite status. And he's starting to move in. This is the cool thing. Arbaletrier are going to bait a fight to the other side. Horsemen are going to raid on the opposite end of the base.
And even the Springald Tower. It's gonna just butcher all those villagers on the wood. Wood that is not limited as well for CoRe. Now his farming eco is exposed. His entire eco could get devastated in the next 1 minute.
Saying wood is limited for CoRe is like saying a person who lives in a box on the street could be better off. Like, it doesn't really paint the picture, Lidakor. He was down to 2 wood.
It's not just that, but where is he going to get wood from? The northern side, that is exposed to tower fire. He's constantly losing villagers up there.
Now there's stone wall going up. CoRe realizes it, but I don't know if he can stop it indefinitely. The Arbaletrier can stand their ground. Streltsy are moving in. Simtom. An ambitious fight he's willing to take here. I don't think it should be that ambitious, though. The Golden Hats are deceiving you. The Horsemen are at least raiding to make it somewhat worthwhile, but overall, this is a decent trade for CoRe.
Yeah, it is. Mangonel are helping quite a lot out there. Crossbows just not caring about the Mangonel.
Where are you going?
Yoink.
Come back! You were meant to save the Arbaletrier! This poor crossbow right now, like, wait, you were the reinforcements! Like, nah, my holiday doesn't stop for another week.
You were the chosen one.
You're meant to bring balance to the French, not throw it into disarray. No, Roos must win, they say, chanting as they go deeper. They will go deep. I mean, he might not win the main fight, but he's winning the game the way we roll our eyes at Lidakor. 1,000,001 horsemen to the opposite corner.
Yeah, and Simtom is walled back at home. He has multiple layers of walls, in fact, some of them being stone walls, so there's no chance for CoRe to counterattack, and it's just gonna be a death by 1,000 cuts. Wave after wave of horsemen now with royal bloodlines and just keep depleting the eco of CoRe. CoRe's eco is still fine, but he needs to find a way to stabilize, and as long as his base has more holes on it than Swiss cheese, I just don't see him being able to accomplish that.
Yeah, it makes me wonder how, like, they make this many royal cavalries. Like, you know, the royal bloodlines. Is that some sort of special breeding? Like, is it just kind of Habsburg approved? I don't get how you get this many horsemen with that kind of premium brandle. There's just so bloody many of them. And behind that, there's also hand cannoneers now being pumped by Simtom. Hello.
Yeah, keep in mind.
Wait,
whoop.
did Simtom forget to... That's the Gambusons, right? Did he not get Gambusons this whole time? Or is that the stirrup? No, it's not stirrups. It's
No, that's Gambestones. Well, he was up
Yeah, it's
against
Gambestones.
mostly horse archers for quite a while,
True,
so
that's true.
you can justify
I
that.
mean, he
yeah.
was frontlining against knights with arbitrary as well, in fairness, but it's fair. It's fair. I can see where he's come from. Although it's kind of weird that he's now getting Gambesons after he's decided to stop producing arbitrary and start producing hand cannons.
Oh, CoRe gets to save the keep.
Yeah, but what cost? You're a negative stone. You can't save the keep. You can't save your villagers. No! Wrong place, wrong time. I ain't got an alibi for this one. Simtom is everywhere in CoRe's base. He's rushing to put out fires slower than they're actually being made.
Oh, this is so painful. The castle is just burning down to the ground. He has to keep buying stone to keep repairing it, but as long as he doesn't stop the fire itself, it's just going to keep losing HP non-stop.
-7 stone. I don't know how CoRe does this. This is, I mean, if he's this creative with his accounting, he probably doesn't pay anything to the taxman each year.
It looks like he's gonna get to keep the save the keep, not keep the save, but it's too little too late. By the way, there's a sacred site countdown going on, something we completely overlooked, down to 7 minutes only, and CoRe, he's gonna have to find a way to decap one of these sacred sites, and those sacred sites, by the time he gets there, will be more than fortified.
Simtom will be more than ready to start pushing knights again, because guess what? The trade is still going, and it's escalating. Meanwhile, CoRe is becoming more reliant on horsemen to counter horsemen. It's good in that matchup. When the Rune Knights start to hit the field again, though, this becomes a one-sided affair. However, for the moment, he does have mass. Arbitrary and hand cannoneer trying to back up. Spears are buying enough time, and slowly the horsemen seem like they're being cleaned up. But the bigger details give these mangonels. Mangonels could crush what Simtom's relying on right now.
This is a deceiving advantage for CoRe, though. Part of the reason why he has so many units out there on the battlefield is because he stockpiled tons of resources in the last, like, 10 minutes, but he was pop-capped. He lost so many villagers that he's now replacing them with army, but sustainability remains a question for him. He's got momentum right now, but Simtom has more than enough to stabilize, I feel.
Yeah, this is like cranking 12 Red Bulls to get you through the next few hours, but then someone tells you actually you need to do a 48-hour stream marathon. All of a sudden, you realize you probably should have spread those Red Bulls out a little bit more.
Indeed, for the time being, Horsemen still doing some decent work over here on the front line, but as long as the crossbows are standing and fighting, not being exposed to the mangonels, this is still an efficient fight here for Simtom.
Oh, he knows. He knows. The goose is cooked. The trade has been revealed, but the question mark now is what the hell can CoRe do about it?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, now you see it, and that is just going to annoy CoRe because it's not like he can do much against that. Most of the trade will be stonewalled very soon, so he's not going to have the chance to attack it. At least CoRe has his own gold income from the north, so there is definitely a silver lining for his position right now, and strictly speaking, his army isn't looking terrible. 26 horsemen, 24 streltsy, definitely something to be happy about. He needs to do a ton of damage here to Simtom in the next 1 or 2 minutes.
Can he afford these horsemen indefinitely? That would
nope.
look so... there might be having problems here. Because if he loses one army, I'm pretty sure CoRe's just lost this game. There's no way he can replace those income numbers.
Yeah, that's the big thing. This is one death ball that will never be replenished. He can try to keep adding some horsemen, but numbers are disappearing.
Please go around them. Go around the wall.
Wouldn't be the first time that French fortifications are just evaded by going around them.
I mean, if CoRe ever offends me in the next month, I'm just going to show him this piece of the recording. It's the most... It should do nothing, this wall, but yet it has been a Chad wall. It has turned the fight around. CoRe now has to retreat away, lost way too many horsemen, and Simtom bought enough time to reach critical mass again.
Yeah, and keep in mind that Simtom is more than happy playing a 5-hour-long game over here. He already has a trade set up. Right now, Sacred Site, one of them is being decapped actually to the north. Time is of the essence here for CoRe.
Knights are here to play. Streltsy on the way means that Simtom won't be able to hold this indefinitely, and his troops are going to be too slow to get in position. That's why he skirts back. He maybe try to hop on the site and delay this, but I think he knows it's too little too late. Without the main army, nothing can beat those Streltsy. Yeah,
but it's the pick your poison scenario. We have seen this so many times. You don't necessarily want to win this game with the countdown. You just want to force your opponent to commit to decapping it, because that opens up the chance for you to just go raid their base and possibly force some fights that normally would not happen.
coming in from the south side now, so CoRe gets caught out of position with the Streltsy. However, no Mangonels to ultimately punish him here. It's just the Arbitrator again. Culverin's also now trading out efficiently against the Springles and against the Bombards. And actually, the Streltsy getting cleaned up. That minus 20 health does actually hurt. Arbitrator will lose one-on-one, but it's more or less the ability to infinitely push these that Simtom has that we know CoRe doesn't, because he still hasn't set up the trade.
It's the resource efficiency factor. And now, CoRe is actually low on food. Gold is plenty for him, but food is an issue, and replenishing those very food-heavy units, the Streltsy and a Horseman, will be a challenge. Population looking worse and worse for him, and momentum slowly shifting in the favor of Simtom.
And this has been going for a while. These few men-at-arms that have been slipping in and being a little bit of a nuisance on the side, chipping away at the economy, making their way slowly deeper. And you can just see it. If you look at all the little blue dots across the map, like, Simtom keeps finding a way in. He's a snaky bugger right here. He's just doing his little role player lean octopus, because he's always finding somewhere to reach in.
Yeah, and the thing is that he's been harassing those farms, and some of the units that were raiding out there were unaddressed. Like, you see, we have complete fields with no farmers on them. So there definitely has been quite a lot of raiding going on here, and it's going to start to take a toll on the food eco of CoRe, down to just 200 food in the bank.
Maybe CoRe's just playing more realistic. He's like, well, people wouldn't be working the fields 24/7. Mister gonna test this. You know, you gotta go sleep at some point in the day. Wow,
Well,
night.
well, some of those villagers went to sleep permanently.
That's true. Actually, if anything, they should be more productive for the farms, because they're fertilizer, right? There you go.
True, but it's only the next villager that works on that farm that's gonna get more productive.
Yeah, but the important part is they don't like discover the body, because if they discover the body, then they start asking questions. What do we do to people who ask questions?
Just let them die to the next raid. That's a pretty good way of dealing with them.
Yeah, we give them a work order deeper into the French lines. Yep, that's what you get for questioning the Rus rule.
Look at the night numbers now. We've been completely overlooking the almost complete switch of unit composition of Simtom.
Yep.
He's been operating with a lot of arballetry and hand cannoneers for a while, but now he's back to knights. Not just a few knights, but up to 40.
It's a gradual transition because you can afford it over time. And you know what? We should have known at Lidakor, because if you actually look on the mini-map and you look at all these lines and you reconfigure a few, if you move a few to the left, a few to the right, and up and down, this actually reads from Simtom, this is a bait. I'm going to spam knights here. A very sophisticated message to write into the mini-map.
Yeah, he's got the trade set up as well, so the sustainability is definitely there. Streltsy just completely ignored the knights. They run past them.
Okay. I mean, you know, maybe they've got a phobia of horses. I guess that's a possibility here. Speaking of horses, a few horsemen are going to make their way into the base of the French again. I'm more concerned about the knights that are passing you to go into your home, though. They are going to be a lot more effective. Wait, Simtom, surely you just killed the villagers, right?
Yeah, that'll be way better value.
They're going pretty fast at it. Oh, okay, no, he's killing the villagers elsewhere. They're in now. I mean,
That's
this
a good
should be
point.
the beginning of the end for CoRe. I don't think he's going to wait too much longer, because he might realize he made a bit of a mistake here. You know how we said Simtom went mass knights? Look at what CoRe's response was.
Mass Streltsy it is, and like, CoRe's not gonna tap out of this one until he puts those Streltsy to use. At the very worst for him, he's gonna rally a lost hurrah with those Streltsy.
So hold on a sec, you're saying that CoRe's not going to GG out until he gets to use the Streltsy. So
Yep.
what you're saying, Lidakor, is this game's never going to end, because how do you use Streltsy when the knights can run double your speed away from you? Like, you're never getting to use them, right? They're just running around their base.
Oh, look at that. Just to keep right next to what is the neutral trading post, actually. That is not just a cheeky keep from Simtom, it's actually devastating for CoRe, because even if he ever thought about trading, that's gonna be a big no-no.
Simtom, all he needs to do is just keep peeling small groups of knights, heading north, and then sending 2 more groups to the west. Like, these Streltsy, I'm pretty sure CoRe at this point has just reached the stage of just a Control-Shift-C and click, because these Streltsy have been running around together at all times, and the reason they have to, look what's happening, even against a small group of knights like this, they are getting wiped out because of how chunky the Royal Knights are and how limited the HP is on the Streltsy.
Yeah, that's a big thing. As long as you don't have a front line in front of them, once you have a mass knight charge on them, they don't trade really well. Losses are massive for Simtom, but Simtom can afford those losses because he's got the trade set up. He's got the guild hole still working for him, so he can afford those losses much more than CoRe can, and that's what he's playing for.
Nah, I've seen the way that Beastie trains people on the ladders. The torture will put them through horseman raids for 50+ minutes. So CoRe won't GG out just yet. He says, I've trained for this. I've experienced this time and time again. I was molded in the cheeky horseman raids, forged by it. I won't fall to it that easily. But he needs to find a way out of the hole. And the problem he's having of getting out of that hole is wood is slipping, so is food. Slowly, Simtom is just burning him down.
Yeah, it's easier said than done. I mean, recovery feels like a distant dream right now. He's down to 100 population with no chance of recovery, really. No eco to back this up, no resource bank, and he's just gonna suffer from more raids. There's the GG.
He calls it. He's finally had enough. I think CoRe finally got a feel for how small his economy is. He took a little look in the bottom left corner, saw that he's about 100 out of 200 and said, maybe game 2. Simtom opens with a win. CoRe gets beaten on what should have maybe been his strongest civ here, so going to be quite the struggle to recover.
Indeed, it started well for CoRe. It's just the fact that you had those critical engagements in like mid-late Castle Age where all the knights got wiped out by the crossbows, or the arbaletier rather, and Pavise are really coming in clutch. That was probably the factor that decided those engagements, and that was the last time where CoRe really was the aggressor. Ever since then, Simtom was the one just non-stop sending wave after wave of cavalry into his base, and it was just a slow and painful death for CoRe in the end.
Yeah, you remember how earlier in the day, Lidakor, I said that your best shot at making it through in these last chance qualifiers is to play off-meta? Do you want to know what the most off-meta thing you can do as a French is? Use Pavise. Yeah, it's, they don't do it. They never do it.
It looks like we are already ready to
you
get
can
underway,
win.
Lidakor.
Speaking of course,
And when you look at that,
his life's on the line. He needs to turn it around here. It's a best of 3. He loses this one. He is out. No chance at being at Heidelberg other than as an observer. I mean in the crowd, not in the booth. Let's see what we can do as we head into Kawasan.
Indeed, Doc coming in immediately here from Simtom. You've mentioned this. This is the first big decision point here for Simtom. Are you going for your Vanguard Man-at-Arms to deny the opponent's Doc? But I think part of the reason why Simtom decided not to do that is because, if you think about that, HRE, they are probably scared about the Vanguard Man-at-Arms. They can't do much against that. So there's always a chance that the HRE just rushes Feudal Age, goes for their own Feudal Age Men-at-Arms to secure the spot, and then go for their Doc. That could work fairly well for the HRE given their Prelate boost, but looks like CoRe is just gonna play standard Doc here in Dark Age, but because Simtom went for his own Doc himself, there's gonna be nothing for him to punish this Doc with. It's just gonna be a nice and comfy Dark Age fishing for both players.
Yeah, the problem with going this way for Simtom is you're now actually playing into the HRE's hands. Speaking of the HRE, CoRe is so paranoid that the Men-at-Arms are still coming that he's walling himself in because he only wants 1 scout. So maybe that gives Simtom a slight advantage, right? The wasted wood. Even with that in mind, though, we have to remember that you are playing a matchup as a civ that gets, it's the second time I mentioned it, Dave, but it's even more important this one, a civ that gets no additional wood gathering rates, the English, versus a civ that gets an additional gathering rate, 40% buff, in fact, on any land resources they gather from, which can include wood, which is the critical ingredient in a naval war on this map.
Yeah, strictly speaking, if you ask yourself the question why one would pick the English on this map, you'd probably list stuff like, okay, I can go for Vanguard Man-at-Arms to deny the enemy dock with. Once I get to Feudal Age, I have longbows to harass enemy fishing ships with. I can go for my galleys, which is on the more powerful Feudal Age ships right now in the game. These are the things that you would list. But at the end of the day, we're not talking about the Vanguard Man-at-Arms right now. So that option, possibly the best option for English on this map, is gone. And everything else, as you said, plays into the hands of the HRE here.
Well, this plays into the HRE hands even more. Simtom went back for the Men-at-Arms. Now it's just irrelevant. It doesn't do anything anymore.
Yeah, and I wonder if he actually sees the walls. He shouldn't, because he was gathering sheep. You see, he's just not going to figure out the walls, but it's too late.
Oh my god. He's already invested 1 Men-at-Arms. The second one's already queued. He can't do anything about this. If he builds enough MAA, Lidakor, he will get that dock. He will get through to it. But the amount of Men-at-Arms you would build is enough time for CoRe to cruise up into almost Castle Age.
Okay, this is Brick Brain. Transport ship. He's dropping a transport.
All right, here we go. This is a good reaction. Simtom, right? He was given a pile of dog crap, and he found a way to make chocolate cake. All right, it's not going to be the tastiest chocolate cake, but what people don't know can't hurt him. This is going to allow him to recover it.
I love it. He needs to do something with that barracks. The problem is that the man-at-arms are super pricey. The barracks itself is super pricey. By the time he burns his way through these walls, CoRe is up in feudal and he saves the dock. But by doing this, he can get through and start torching the dock immediately. Big-brained over here by Simtom. I love the reaction.
Oh my god. And he's still pushing more the men-at-arms as well, so he's got the conviction to follow through. And I like this choice by him. Like any other choice by Simtom, and I'm like, well, you've just lost the game anyway, you just lost it later. This is him admitting the game looks like crap. Like, and this is what it takes to be a great player, right? You need to look at the game and realize when you've made a mistake, and then instead of just going for the oh, I'll just play for a later timing approach. Go, okay, what is my new win condition? What are the options on the table? What's the risk-reward association? He realizes playing late does not work here because the HRE will beat all your timings. So he middle fingers that and pulls out a unit that is heavily underutilized even when we do see Navy maps.
Yeah, and it's not a pricey unit. We're talking about 90 wood, which is actually a smaller investment than what he made for the barracks. It's also something that doesn't take a tremendous amount of time to train, so this reaction could be swift. If transport ships took more time to train, it would be much more difficult to make this reaction in time, and you see, CoRe is kind of scrambling to do anything against this.
Oh, no. He's got an idea. It's an ambitious one. You know what I said about risk association? On both sides, Lidakor. On both sides. CoRe is going to try to sneak a dock. If he gets it up, one galley pops out.
It's spotted.
Bye-bye all men-at-arms.
It's spotted though. It's gonna be so tight.
Yeah, but okay, does he really spot it though? Because we've been here before. We know how this works.
Oh, it's
He's
too
not
late.
transpo shipping.
He's losing precious seconds here.
To CoRe's brilliance, he brought 3 villages. This gives him the best opportunity, but this is still going to be tight. And also, other issue for Simtom, remember how annoying it is to garrison, ungarrison. Look how long it's taken him, and remember, he still has to click the location when he gets there. You can't just bump them out straight away. It's actually a big annoyance a lot of players don't like. Galley is currently being produced. This is going to be tight. 25 seconds actually should be enough time to get it out before the men-at-arms can kill the docks. Damn.
Yeah, precious seconds were lost over there, KP. I think if he realizes it in the moment he spotted it, he could have burnt it down before the galley, but this is clutch for CoRe. He's going to get the first galley out. That's going to push away the man-at-arms, and crucially, he keeps his fishing eco intact.
Galley's definitely coming out to play, and Simtom, of course, only halfway on the tech up means he can't get a counter galley out at all yet. MAA. Wait, are you going to garrison? No, not the transpo ship. That's the risk you don't want to take. So one of them goes down, the rest at least get away. But now, the fishing fleet is going to be assailed. Speaking of sails, they will have to set high sails and run for their lives because no assistance is coming.
Yeah, and it's going to take so much time for Simtom to get his first galley out, so not only does CoRe save his own fishing eco, he's also going to be able to devastate his opponents when another man-at-arms, desperate to find value for themselves, but there's probably going to be none to find.
I mean, he's trying to get some value out of these MAA, but there's something you can't easily do with these is diving TCs. Sure, they're chunky, but they're chunky in a way that they can skirt the gold on the edge of the base. They can't be underneath the TC. However, they can at least idle CoRe out because typical greedy HRE player doesn't want to build any military.
Yeah, he wants to raise the castle over here. Man-at-arms still harassing lumberjacks. They're just deciding to chill in the end.
I mean, he doesn't need more wood. He's got double galley, right? So
True.
He can just cruise now. Like, the fishing fleet's safe. Simtom actually has, like, no interest in prepping galleys. In fact, he's only just started, which means he's heavily delayed. I actually think CoRe gets castle for free.
Yeah, he's gonna get away with that. He still needs some food for that, and there is a galley now out for Simtom. He could at least delay CoRe's castle age timing here by harassing the fish, but it very much seems likely that CoRe is going to beat him to castle, and the moment that happens, we're talking hulks, not galleys, and that's not something that Simtom can fight well against.
Oh, you dirty, dirty boy, I love that. CoRe, you saw that unique tech he's taken. The increased repair speed for the HRE, someone they can only get. It means that 2 galleys will be good enough to keep Simtom's head in the dirt.
And the docks are very close to each other, so he doesn't need to pull back the ships very far away for repairs.
You can see the fishing fleet now being sacrificed. Second galley is going to come out. This will be whale back up. As soon as that kicks in, which is about to, Simtom can't trade anymore. The only way Simtom can try to combat this is if he sets up an outpost, but he's shown no effort to do so. So the best thing you can do is at least snipe out the fleet, but CoRe should be able to just clean this up and rebuild on this lake anyway. And look at what Simtom's now done. He's gone for the other lake.
Yeah, he needs to. He's got 0 food per minute. Absolutely no food eco out there. He's trying to pop out some longbows to harass CoRe, and truth be told, CoRe is caught in between here. He doesn't have an army, but he's also not going into Castle Age yet, so this is buying some time for Simtom. Problem is that losing all those fishing ships are just too much of a damage to overcome right now for Simtom. It's going to take so much time for him to recover.
A few longbows here or there could be a little bit of a nuisance, but overall, CoRe should still be able to get what he needs. It's just food that he needs to sort, so once he's back in the fishing, he'll be good. Third galley coming out, though. My gosh, CoRe may have got a little bit too greedy here. He gathered additional wood, he's got way too much gold, but he stopped pushing galleys. What?
This is dangerous. For now, he's holding, courtesy of the fishing ships repairing. He's also got the dock boosting him as well. But the biggest problem is that now his fishing eco is also idle, and he still is lacking the food for Castle. So all the gold that he gathered, all the food that he gathered even, it can't really be put into good use.
I mean, I actually think CoRe, if he just built 3 galleys, he wins this lake entirely, and there's nothing Simtom can do. Now, he's given Simtom a way back into the game, and Simtom will rip his hand off gleefully in the process.
CoRe is not going Castle Age, though.
I mean, but still, you've lost the lake, right? And you could be blocked on the other lake, potentially. It's so greedy.
Oh, no.
The Burgrave's at least a cool idea, but now that means you have no late game scalability, and you've just allowed Simtom to get back on the Naval.
I beg to differ. I think Burgrave here is terrible. Look at the resource income that CoRe is going to have. No fish on this pond. He's just now building up his fish on the left-hand side pond. Berries denied. Not a single farm. No hunters. How on the earth is he going to afford mass-producing units on the Burgrave? He can pop out a couple of units. He's got a decent resource bank, but sustainability is just a distant dream for him right now.
Exactly. Like I think he made this choice because he thought he still had fishing. And he just completely misread that what's happening on the naval side. And there's no boon on land, actually, right? Look at the spawn for Karasan and think what it is. Boars are mid-map. Deers are for your base. CoRe now needs to transition farms, or he needs to make sure he gets wood quickly to get hulks out to resecure lakes. Either way, this is going to slow him down on getting his food back online. This is actually an opportunity to recover for Simtom.
Exactly. Like, we don't have to look at this as saying, okay, Simtom's got this game. We have to look at this from the perspective that Simtom had a very rough spot with the feudal age timing he had, but now he's going to have a recovery path because while CoRe will be able to field some men-at-arms, he won't be able to flood his opponent, and with a couple of well-placed walls, Simtom could buffer this up and possibly buy himself time to get to Castle himself.
Now, there is a way that this can still be effective for CoRe, but I think it comes down to maybe not targeting the lakes. Because if he goes after the lakes, the galleys can actually still trade really well and kill him.
Yep.
If he goes straight down the center towards Simtom's base, Simtom could be in a pickle. Because actually looking at numbers, I think CoRe, it looks like Simtom stopped aggression entirely. In fact, look at it. Like, he has no units anymore. So what should have been an awkward get out of your base situation is a freebie for CoRe. And Simtom's reaction is to fully wall himself in. He realizes what's about to come his way. He's trying to get Castle before it arrives.
I love it. He's going to fully wall himself off. He's going to have a longbows sitting behind those walls with a network of castles. That's enough to at least do some damage on those men-at-arms if they really want to break in. And wait a second. Where's CoRe going even? What?
Wait. No!
Does he know?
No! He doesn't know! Okay,
no way!
No, okay, it's not too bad. It would have been bad if he went to the corner first.
He doesn't
Look
know.
At his scouting. He never knew. He never knew until now. Oh my god, that was pain. That was actually pain.
And
it's
now
because
he's
he's in
bumping
the
into
opposite
walls.
corner, right? Like, this is a rarer spawn. I think the most common one is opposite, then this one, and then the rarest one is both down the center.
And look at that, reinforcements also got picked off here because of the rally point by the galleys. A couple of men-at-arms falling to those galleys, and you see hard switch into the crossbows as well.
This is good. Yeah. It's really good from Simtom, actually, because he's got enough to repair here. Like, if you look at CoRe's count, it's only 14 men-at-arms. He can't get through the walls.
And he can afford to lose a couple of villagers.
Just go CoRe. Just go
Nope.
No? Okay, go. I mean, he doesn't know, right? He doesn't know that the north side isn't walled. So he's just assuming it is. He's going to break in, but tech up's almost complete. And just a handful of crossbows could shut CoRe down. Yeah, he got the undermesh, so he's got the range resistance. But has he even got marching drills? I don't think he has.
Yeah, it's
Nah,
it's not looking great.
Like, look how slow he is.
Yeah, he's gonna pick off a couple of villagers, but off the back of that, his opponent is also picking up villagers inside his base with a single man-at-arms. And do keep in mind...
And he walls him in. I wondered why he let him in, and now we know. He's like, okay, no. If that's your aggression, it can stay here. Because now the crossbows can chase him.
Oh, this is so painful for CoRe, and he's going to pick off a couple of villagers, sure thing, but at the end of the day, his opponent is now up to 2 town centers. He's going to secure the left-hand side pawn, but Simtom is just playing with a ton of confidence right now. He's going to clean up all those men-at-arms. He still has one of those pawns, and he's going to be on 2 TCs. I mean, Simtom...
The key detail is one, though, Lidakor, because CoRe did get something in the midst of this that we didn't talk about. He's got a Hulk online, so he should get his fishing back up.
Over time. I think that's the key thing here. It's going to take time for him to get the fishing back up. In fact, Simtom didn't even lose the fishing ships on that set pond. And, like, if CoRe is not paying attention to this, Simtom could easily sneak out one of his Hulks, at least, keeping that pond contested. And as long as the pond is contested, that's fine for Simtom, because CoRe needs untouched fishing eco right now.
CoRe just needs eco in general right now if he wants to get the men-at-arms push going again. But it looks like he's playing the later game here. You can see that he's setting up Hulks. He's probably going to be forced to think about going into farms because, of course, in the late game, this fishing it's not going to be good enough on its own. Wonder what his next target is. I mean, it looks like he's going to get some more MAA in the field, but that alone isn't going to cut it now that crossbows are already on the field.
Yeah, he's very heavy on wood and gold, so that would indicate he might want to invest a little bit more into the water. But it's going to take some time to pay off, and it looks like he's moving towards the middle for the berries. That's a juicy pickup out there, a lot of food. In fact, nearly infinite food in the middle for the players to take. Problem is that it's more than exposed, and longbows are heading that way. CoRe only having 4 man-at-arms to protect them with. Those villagers could easily find themselves surrounded by enemies.
And also, if you're going to take them out here for this type of risk, surely you would want, I don't know, maybe a monastery and a prelate. Has he built a monastery yet? I see, like, many HRE players won't do it if they don't build regnants, right? But I think this is the type of game where it's worth it. Because that gathering rate actually becomes competitive if you have a prelate out there. Without it, it's a pitiful 0.66 food per second.
You need a prelate out there, but CoRe only has 2 of them. He's mostly focusing on picking up the relics, because Simtom also has a monastery, so he wants to make sure he actually has the majority of the relics. You really don't want to be down by 1 or 2 relics, possibly, as the HRE against the English.
And actually, the other cool thing, if you do get a relic in the center here, drop a keep, you get all those berries, right? It's pretty secure. It's very hard to get through HRE keeps. See if he plays into that. There's kind of a few question marks that I need to see CoRe answer, because I think by falling back to your own later timings now, you're allowing the English player to get later timings as well, right? And we know what happens when you arrive in the hyper late game. The English are very strong, and we can already see Simtom starting to layer those farms at the backside.
Exactly. And a bigger thing is that Simtom's playstyle, based on game number 1, was also much more of this methodical, slower-placed, multi-layer wall style approach, which also helps in late game as well. Whereas for CoRe, he was playing much more open in game number 1. If the players are continuing with those tendencies here into game number 2, that also plays into the advantage of Simtom. So not only, as you said, the English versus HRE matchup could be favoring Simtom here late game, playstyles could also be much more favorable for Simtom as we go deeper and deeper into this game.
So what you're saying is Simtom's going to trade?
I mean, it's a possibility.
No. Shut me down, Lidakor. Right, you tried to stand your ground on a different... This is this hill that you die on. Like, no trade on Countermeasures.
Famous last words, I mean...
Not until Ottomans are added.
You're gonna have to wait a little bit more for that. Looks like we're gonna have a switch into cavalry, though. And that is a pass of Schwabia Imp here from CoRe.
Oh, but look at what Simtom's doing. He's not being as gluttonous as I think CoRe is expecting him to be. CoRe's playing blind AoE right now. No scouts, limited vision on outposts. So he doesn't know that Simtom is doubling down on army.
It's risky. It's also knights. They can just roam your map and just shut down your eco. Obviously, you could say, sure thing, I will make up for the losses of the Pass of Schwabia, but it's not just the kills that are happening by those knights, it's the idle time. If your villagers keep running circles around your base because they're being chased by knights, it doesn't matter if you can replenish them fast, because no one's gonna work for you.
Yeah, I wouldn't work for a guy that just lets me walk out into a field and die, you know. I have my standards, Lidakor.
Knights, they are unaware of the fact that there are actual... Whoa. Oh, for a moment I thought he's gonna transport them. Then I realized that it's wide open playing field, so why on the earth would they do that?
I was waiting for you to finish that thought. I was like, please do continue where I know you're now going, because this is pointless. In fairness, it would be more efficient. He could have moved towards the Palace of Swabia quicker.
Well, strictly speaking, walls are coming up on the north, so at one point those transport ships may actually become a factor. But for the time being, Knights will just head to the north. No cannon emplacement on that tower. Juicy pickups out here for the Knights.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Everyone's going to have a home except you, Timmy. You sleep on the streets tonight. Oh, Marika come up to die as well. Men-at-Arms there to meet, but Men-at-Arms and that's it. That's his whole army. He has 4 Men-at-Arms. He's trying to look at the change as well. He's panic rushing spears, but the Knights are going to get maximum impact in the meantime, idling a giant chunk of the HRE economy.
And that's the big thing. It's going to be a ton of idle time, and this is something that Simtom can leverage to potentially buffer up for Imperial, or just to double down on army. And keep in mind that he didn't even find the berry villagers in the middle. Simtom has no idea that CoRe is taking berries in the middle. That could also be minus 10 villagers for CoRe in a blink of an eye.
I'm intrigued to see where Simtom's scouts are at, because you'd think he'd be able to see this by now. He'll get the vision off the outpost, but he does still have 2 scouts giving a lot of info across the map. Wait, where are they? Are they just sitting at home? It says he has 2, but what are you doing?
That's not a nice spot.
Not exactly the most helpful lad in the army right now. I don't know where the other one is, but yeah, kind of a waste actually by Simtom. He should have a lot more vision on the map than he does. Instead, he's got them in the most pointless places possible.
Indeed. That's actually taking away a lot of opportunities for killing it. Finally, seems to find the villagers in the middle. 2 towers helping them, though, with relics inside and spring golden placement. So, handful of Knights will be insufficient to dive into those.
Ah, you need to use the Knights. You're playing the English. It's time for the Trebon. Not gonna last long. No TC nearby, so no motor repairs. The keep's gonna be set up by Simtom as well, because that's something he's been missing, remember. He hasn't set up a keep yet to get the attack speed buffer for the English. So no network of Citadel's effect, but all those berries now gone for CoRe. Has to retreat back home, and the good news for him at least is there's less burden on his food income now because of how cheap the Palace of Swabia villages are.
That is true, but he still needs to start fielding an army. He's going to decide by Knights. The concern for him is that, as you said, Imperial Age is nice and everything for CoRe, but once he gets there, he's capped out. His ceiling is rather small, whereas for the English, they really start coming online once we get to Imperial. Network of Citadels is going to swing the battle heavily in his favor. And in a Knight v Knight war, when we already have towers and a keep in the middle for Simtom, I just don't see CoRe winning. And flanking around doesn't seem to be an option because Simtom is also going to wall off the flanks.
Yeah, I think the thing that usually gets forgotten about the HRE is they are actually a mid-game civ, right? Like, they don't seem like a mid-game civ because they get to their late game so quick. But why they're a mid-game civ compared to, say, the Abbasids or the English or good trading civs, right? Is like when they arrive in this late game, their advantage is they clean up resources fast. But in terms of infinite resource generation, they can be limited. If they don't get relics, they fall apart. If they haven't got regnants, it also feels bad. Even on their farms, that's the only thing they're going to infinitely get 40% more of. Compare that to the English at this stage. Now going up in the Imperial Age, he's going to have comparative gathering on the farms, but he's also going to be generating infinite gold from those farms as well.
Yeah, it's a big difference, right? The thing is that HRE is probably the single most timing-sensitive civilization in the game, whereas for the English, they are one of the most powerful late-game civs. As you said, so population-efficient economy, really efficient army as well, using Network of Citadels. It is just such a difficult scenario for HRE to push the English because they're so good at defending, and if you don't push them, they will really leverage that extra eco that you get from the farms, and especially that gold trickle.
Yeah, I think like the difference between these two civs is the English have variability in gameplay, right? Like what I mean by that is, you know, we can say both sides maybe seem one-dimensional at times in their unit choices, but one side actually has flexibility between ranged and melee, and the other doesn't. How often do you see an HRE player build mass ranged?
Well, not so frequently.
Like, I mean, I think we saw crossbows the other weekend, and the guy lost, right? It didn't look good. This is a Civ that is premium, like, effective unit as a melee. It's the Langsnecht, right? And the problem with that is, like, the HRE become predictable, and on a wider spectrum, you can manipulate the fights off the basis of that detail.
Yeah, looks like CoRe now intending to push up over here, but no heavy siege to support his army with. Simtom also grabbing his imp upgrades.
Oh, hello. Flash coming out. Attack speed buffer's there, though, so the crossbows will trade reasonably well unless the knights can get on top of them quick. Spears are looking to clean up. Overall, this fight isn't looking as good as it maybe should for CoRe. In fact, he might end up losing the entire army. In fact, he is the moment that the start step comes out. It's just bad trades.
Yeah, nice retreat out there. There's a lot of buffer with that keep, with that tower. And indeed, losses are massive on both sides, but Simtom has to be happy with this fight until he actually loses all the siege out there. At least CoRe gets some value for that army being lost.
He does. He's going to dive deeper. He's going to find the villagers as well. And there needs to be some new knights coming out to address this siege, because one bombard can do a lot of damage. Simtom right now is very reliant on this keep to control the game. CoRe is on a timing push here. He knows he can't outdo the English long-term without a superior position. And that is the position I want to see. Corner base, let's go. I mean, he's called CoRe. He has to be in the corner.
And this might not be scouted by Simtom because, as you said, his scouts, they aren't really being put to good use. There's one scout that he still has left is here on the front line right now. The other one from the corner is gone. But point is, this may not be scouted because why on the earth would you scout those corners? There isn't even a single, like, massive resource deposit out there that would warrant you to send out villagers. And the key thing for CoRe is that he needs to be patient. He can't show his hand with 5 knights. He needs to do this with like 25 and 30 and just do one big punch in the face for Simtom and decide the game.
Well, I'll have to see which approach he wants to take. I mean, he could just send in small groups of knights and just go for the raids. Like, the chip damage seems like a good idea, but fundamentally, the way that Simtom's playing the game, he's so condensed that you need that big raid you talked about, right? Like, you're not going to find all these pocket ecos you would up against a French player or a Rus player. This is Simtom camping in the corner.
Yeah, the big problem, I feel, if you just go for a couple of small raids with those knights, is that the moment you show your hand, the moment Simtom realizes that there is a flank, he's going to address it. So this is why this trick only works once. You have the element of surprise, and you really have to get the maximum out of that. And you could have a great value from that forward, because if you look at Simtom's army, it's slow moving. The moment a raid would come in from the left side, he would need to pull his army to address it, which would open up things for CoRe in the middle. I think that's what he's setting himself up for. He's going to use that flank as a diversion, and then push the middle with this force.
I've got a different outlook on it. I think CoRe's going to mass horsemen in that corner. I just remember what CoRe likes to do in games like this. When he knows he can't scale infinitely, he'll try to just mass horsemen to a ridiculous degree, and then landmark snipe. And there are no stone walls up, so actually it could work in this game.
Speaking of stone walls, we do have a couple of stone walls being placed here in the middle by CoRe, but now Clash comes in. Decent fight here for CoRe.
Each men-at-arms going to hold those. So CoRe not really getting the best of clashes in the end. Seems the crossbows just get to do whatever they want on the backside. You have to remember these are armor-clad men-at-arms, so they take even less damage. They are lasting a long time. The army's being thrown away. The only upside is maybe CoRe kills off the keep. Nah, I'm kidding. That ain't even going down. He's going to lose the siege as well. Really bad fight from CoRe. I mean, you've got to respect the beefy men-at-arms.
Yeah, the problem is that he's also shown his hand. Look at the spearman being routed to the left side. He has shown that he's got a forward on the left side by sending in a horseman, but Simtom didn't pull back his army, so CoRe decided to push in the middle. Maybe CoRe expected that the diversion is going to work, and he's going to face less resistance in the middle, but now it's just a scramble from CoRe. This is looking really grim for him right now.
Yeah, the diversion's going to work for this contingent of 8 horsemen. Like, what is this? Special Delta Force operations right now? Unless they get 50 bonus damage, these poor little horsemen were being sent to their death and they didn't even know it. CoRe, now at risk of losing complete control of this game, he's switching back to the MAA mass. Maybe he gets there in time, courtesy of the Berg raid, but we can see Simtom is not waiting around. He's plowing forward. That massive men-at-arms still has the edge for the time being.
Oh yeah, switch back to men-at-arms just to get butchered by those crossbows. At least you won't have the attack aura for Simtom, but we're looking at 28 army against 89, 200 population against 169, and many of the houses are actually being exposed here for CoRe.
House him!
Yep.
Make them live on the streets. Torches out, boys. Easy way to win against Burgrave. Burger Palace sucks if you can't actually produce anything. We usually talk about for resources, but we forget another resource really is that pop gap.
And it's big.
Wait, what?
Oh.
He's just, no, he's just like,
he's
he's like,
swinging
no,
around.
I don't trust it. I think there's too many houses. I don't believe. Wonder what his goal is here. I think he's looking for the economy, but he's going to get the bad news that CoRe has it safely tucked behind all this.
Yeah, he's happy to take this fight, though.
Yeah, it's crossbows and choke points, so you always have this, right? Like, they can't be accessed at all.
Yeah, he's also camping on the stables, by the way, so every single knight that pops out is gonna get insta-picked off by those crossbows. He's also creeping up. He's got the stone to drop a forward keypad. Shattering projectiles coming in for the trebuchets, and CoRe is losing all the army. He's the 155 population, but most of those are just villagers. No standing army remaining for him as he's getting overrun now by the superior forces of Simtom.
It's easy. Just get textiles. Those villages are cost-efficient units to tank with. There we go. But right now, you're right. It's looking pretty bad for him. He's at least got his proxy base still working, but I think they are going to be cut off from the heritage funding soon. I don't think there's going to be enough bank to go around between the two bases, especially when you consider the amount of eco that's at risk of being idled in the next minute or two.
And look at that stonewall creep even. He's going to have a stonewall to position his crossbows at, so CoRe, he's going to struggle to counterattack, but that's not even going to be a concern for Simtom at this point, because CoRe has nothing to counterattack with. He's got 5 horsemen on the playing field, limited resource bank to work with as well, and he's facing an army almost the size of 100.
Where's CoRe's army? What's happening in this game? There's a lack of anything right now. That's got me pretty concerned. I mean, it's kind of funny. Simtom has made CoRe look like a simpleton in this game. He doesn't have any solution anymore. He built all this proxy base activity, and now he's running horsemen from back in that proxy base to his own base. Oh, God, it's chalked.
Oh yeah, he's desperately trying to hang on to this one. This is a last chance qualifier after all, but this might just be too far gone. At this point, it's desperation. His army count is actually shrinking rather than increasing, and that's a bad sign when you're below 10 army count. Just a single Hulk left really for him, and I think right now he's just busy typing GG.
No, he isn't. CoRe right now. Remember, he's the HRE, just stays below 10 military pot cap. He's like, but I'm HRE. I don't build military. Economy, economy, economy. Let me just get age 5 and I can recover this game. CoRe, buddy. There is no age 5. And now there is no tomorrow for you. That's the gold that's trying to keep him alive. It's been spotted, folks. CoRe, without this gold, he can't survive. He's trying to go hand cannoneers.
He's trying, as you said. He's up to 2 right now. He's up against quite a lot of crossbows, quite a lot of longbows, and he simply can't mass a large enough force that can stand and fight here at this point. His eco is getting crippled. All the eco lead that he has built is now gone, and there's probably no way back here for CoRe. That's it for CoRe. Try to qualify for Heidelberg. His best chance right now to make it there is gonna be as a viewer, because as a player, he's gonna be out, and Simtom moves on to the next round, keeping his dream alive.
Player got played. Simtom takes it down 2-0. CoRe put in the grind time, but he got grinded to dust here. Impressive performance. What an amazing turnaround from Simtom as well. That early game felt like it had him at the long curlies, but he big brain to big brain to big brain. CoRe, of course, was trying to match every pace, but Simtom understood that when the game stagnated, when it reached into this longer timing, that Burgrave was going to leave CoRe in the dust. Great read by Simtom. Takes the series 2-0, keeps his dream alive, and crushes CoRe in the process.
Indeed, and with that, Simtom is going to move on to the next round, and we've talked about this guy. He's definitely one of the under-the-radar candidates to qualify. Love how he's playing this one safe, by the way. He never risked anything. If you take a look at game number 1, went with a lot of wars. Game number 2 even went with a lot of wars, and he really is making sure that he's not giving any freebies to the opponents, just playing as safe as possible. And that could easily be one of the things that sets him apart from many other players who could be much more prone to errors if they play very open.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting play by Simtom. I think that he wasn't clearly on my radar, but this is impressive to me. I think his read on the game in what should have been a bad matchup, the way he opened and the way he transitioned his early game, recovered what looked like it should have just been almost a 10-minute GG in favor of CoRe. Great read on the situation, great exploitation of custom maps. I think that might be a strong point for Simtom. Feels like he's this guy who's maybe got some crafted ideas. If he pulls them out against some other opponents down the line that maybe are seen as superior, more clear, like obvious front runners, say like maybe Divine or Lash in the upcoming, or Magic/Crackety later on, he could find himself in the qualifying match in that best of 7. I mean, I'm